Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Psalms. We're looking at Psalm 23, the Psalm of the Good Shepherd. This psalm is about how God himself is carefully tending to his flock, just like as if he were a faithful and diligent shepherd. This is a psalm that voices our full trust and confidence in God's, never wavering presence. And that this as believers, this defines the reality of our lives. That we know that sheep are not very smart and they lack everything. If we were left to ourselves, sheep are helpless and vulnerable. But we confidently rely upon our vigilant and trustworthy shepherd for our survival, for our well-being. And we belong to the good shepherd who is sufficient for everything and who provides for us. He talks about the green pastures in quiet waters, a place of rest and refreshment for his sheep, that he's leading and guiding his sheep with his rod. Sometimes God has to sort of smack us with his word, right? So that we stay in the right paths and not stray. Good pasture land, good fresh water, and good safe paths. That's how the shepherd king restores the life of the sheep who have been in jeopardy. He goes on to talk about, in verse 3, about the sheep is traversing, ominous territory. Or verse 4, even though I walk through the darkest valley. Even though we go through difficult terrain, even we go through places that have deadly perils, the Lord is leading us and protecting us so that the wolves would not rip us apart. And for every affirmation of well-being, being beside the still waters, right, there also is always that valley of the shadow of death that we go through too as people. And we, as believers, are called to fully and deeply engage that darkness, not for the sake of the darkness, but knowing the reality that God is not abandoning us, that he's providing for us, protecting us, and leading us forward. So much so that he spreads a table of abundance before us and gives us a full cup of his blessing. In verse 5, as it talks about, that table and anointing my head with oil, is that God is generous with us, right? And even though we're going through threatening circumstances, he overrides that with his generosity, with his goodness. The good shepherd, really, the great and chief shepherd, will one day appear with glory that will never fade. And he will lead us to those springs that we know are springs of eternal water. And so in the final verse, he said, we come to the point, the goal of one's life, which is to live in God's house all the days of our lives, to be in the place with the Lord himself, our good shepherd, and that he's prepared us for that. And so as the sheep following the shepherd, we want to be with the shepherd all the time. We want to be in his house where he is showering us with his abundant mercy and grace and forgiveness. And we know he's the good shepherd because as we read in the Gospel of John and the letters of John, he's the good shepherd who laid down his life for us. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day. If you're getting something out of the Daily Plunge, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and especially to share it everywhere you can. Have a blessed day.